Hey everybody, happy Monday, April 19th. Welcome to a brand new episode of La Vida Baseball Live. I'm Julie Alexandria here in San Diego with Ozzie Guillen Jr. coming to us from Chicago and Jennifer Mercedes holding it up in New Jersey. How was your weekend, you guys? Y'all have a good one? I hope you were watching some West Coast baseball because I know I was. But Ozzie, I know you guys had some fun stuff to celebrate this weekend.
You know what? It was an amazing weekend. It was my son's first birthday, and obviously it was a baseball-themed birthday. And I didn't realize I had that many jerseys, and then I realized how many jerseys of my friends I was missing because it was all baseball decoration, but it was cool. It was perfect. My wife did not complain that baseball was on in the background the whole time because the party was a baseball party. So dad could have the games on the whole day with the background noise. So it was a perfect setup. We enjoyed it, though. It's just, we have always the little jerseys and, the pictures of like your rookie of the year is always a special moment. When you have that. And hopefully his birthday is shared with, in my opinion, the greatest player of my era, Miguel Cabrera. So I told my parents, I said, I only want him to be 1/4 of Miguel because that means he'll at least play college baseball, maybe some minor leagues, just 1/4. I don't even want half. Just
I love that your
Miguel.
1-year-old's birthday was baseball. Does your family ever get tired of baseball? Like, is there ever a moment you're like, you know what? I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. Or is it just like always on peripherally in the background? Is it just part of life now?
I think that it's worse now. Like my brothers and I never had first birthdays being baseball. I think that my brothers and myself are the ones that have made it a lot worse. We're really into the game. We love the game. We love watching the game. We're into fantasy. We're into sports wagering. We're into everything. The gossip. We're obsessed with it. And when it comes, my wife wanted to have it, so it was kind of like, okay, it worked out. But
did she have a choice?
We didn't even say anything. She was just like, I think that she was just like, I want to get this one out of the way.
It's probably the easiest thing.
Probably the easiest thing. But yeah, it was awesome. I didn't have much to say about it, but we're obsessed with it. Like we really love the game of baseball. And it doesn't come so much from Ozzie as much as it comes from, I think, the brothers, because we really love it. We love the game as fans more. The people understand, like, there's a part of us that like love playing it and, we're involved in baseball. And there's another part of we're just regular fans. We haven't been involved, on a team basis in more than 10 years now.
I thoroughly enjoyed seeing your menu and how sophisticated the menu was for the 1-year-old's birthday and the plate setting and everything. I was like,
that's a grandma. That's a grandma. Both grandmas and my wife. It was a nice setup. Not like how I would have probably, laid it out, but the meal was amazing. But again, it's they're gonna have pictures, and I always said this: first birthday is kind of like more for the parents. But he did get the typical, he got a tee that he's gonna hit off of, got a glove. So it's one of those things that's gonna be there that he's definitely going to be doing as much as possible.
Did he do this cake smashing picture? Did you get that?
I did. He wasn't very good at it, but we did do it.
I love it. Jen, how was your weekend? What did you get up to?
My weekend was good. I spent it with the family, my niece, and actually teaching. She's getting to understand baseball more. So she has her bat and she has a ball, and now she watches, and so she started imitating swings, which was like hilarious. Like my dad and I were just cracking up because she was just like, oh, like this, and she's just like swinging the bat. It was really funny. It was like pitching, and she was doing like the actual mechanics of the pitcher, and it's just she's 2 and she's like looking to the side. I'm like, really? Okay.
Batting stance guys got some competition.
Yes.
I love it. We had Kingston out in the driveway, and anytime I post a video of this, people are like, you guys need a net because he hits the ball and he'll hit just a rope across the street, and then he has to go and get it. And people are like, why don't you have a net? Like, you're having the kid run out, but that's part of what he loves to do. Instead of running the bases, he loves to run out and retrieve the ball. So a net would just take away all the fun. And he's 2.5. So let the kid live a little. All right, let's talk about the series that captivated every baseball fan, whether you are an everyday watcher or just a casual fan. If you weren't watching, the Dodgers at Petco taking on the Padres here in San Diego. I don't know what else you were doing. It got me back into tweeting, you guys. I kind of took a sabbatical from tweeting because Twitter has just become an awful wasteland of politics and just negativity, I feel like, in the past, 12 months. So this series is what got me back into Twitter. I was simul-tweeting. I was into it. I watched all 3 games from pre to post game. And I don't know, this could be what saves baseball. I was so excited. Dodgers take 2 of 3. This is the first series. 19 times that these two teams are going to come head to head. We have 16 left, and I am grateful just being here in Southern California, getting to take them all in. Ozzy, how did you take in the games?
I loved it. You know why I loved it? Because we always worry about our rivalry. Okay, whoever's on our division. Obviously, the Yankees and Red Sox were the ones that dominated baseball for a long time. But this is it. It's West Coast baseball. Dodgers and Padres. When you look at the rosters, okay, it's like a story that it's a perfectly written story because you have 2 great young managers. You have 2 cities that obviously have been rivals for a long time. But then every position that you see the players, both teams are very stacked. Okay, and their players, their top guys are really into it. Okay, the chirping was right off the bat, and I think it was a Padres fan. They put like a video clip together of all the things that had led up to this moment, like things from like 4 years ago. And it was literally pumped up to the point that I was like, you look at the weekend and you say, oh my God, like, Blake Snell and Bauer are like the last, the last round of the undercard. And I thought it was amazing. And then the games itself, when you see Mookie Betts, okay, I'll make it like this. There's 2 examples. When you see Mookie Betts, a guy that's very calm throughout his whole playing time, doesn't really show up. He just plays really good, doesn't really fist pump. He's diving and making catch and fist pumping. That's huge. When you see Manny Machado, okay, trying to break up double plays, okay, and trying to beat out infield singles, the level of the game is they just took the bar to another level. Probably the best weekend of baseball to start the season. And now the next 16 games, ESPN, the fact that this wasn't Sunday Night Baseball, huge drop of the ball. The next time they play, if it falls on a Sunday, it needs to be the game of everyone needs to be watching this.
It will. They play again next weekend. They have a 4-game set. So we're going to see them. I mean, there's a quick series. The Padres will host the Brewers, and then all of a sudden back in LA territory. Jen, when you look at this, is this quite possibly one of the best rivalries that we've seen in the past few years? And sort of what does the future hold for these 2 teams?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there was a couple of things that I think also helped the atmosphere. It was the fans, right? The fans being at the ballpark and just hearing the crowd roar when Tatis Jr. came back and that first at bat for him, right? And so you hear that, and then you see his swag. You already know he thinks like, we got this. Like, look at me. And then all of a sudden, like the tables are turning. I mean, that first game, right? It was like back to back, to come back and come back and come back. And I agree, Julie, as far as going to Twitter, because Twitter for me, baseball for me was what led me to Twitter in the beginning when Twitter first started, and I could see that camaraderie with people. And during these games that I was doing the same thing. I was on Twitter. I was like, what are people saying about this? Like, oh my God, like look at this play and look at these guys. And then another thing is the swag of both of these teams, right? And like you mentioned, Ozzy, as far as Mookie Betts out there celebrating his catch and the way that game ended. But then you've got Tatis, you got Machado, you have all of these other players doing different things, Trevor Bauer, just doing different things, making the game fun, having fun. I don't care if they hate each other. The animosity was great. It was so good to watch. It was entertaining, and that's what we all want to see in baseball.
Absolutely. And talk about Manny Machado. For me, he is the linchpin of this series, of this rivalry. He's played for both teams now. He and Bauer have a personal beef together. The fact that
he is Bauer's daddy.
Yes, he is. He owns him. Walk him next time you face him. He owns him. No, he does.
Listen, Enrique Rojas tweeted the funniest thing I've ever seen. So Enrique Rojas said, there is no doubt, there is no need for a DNA result. We know. Manny Machado.
Skip Maury. You don't even need to go on Maury. We already know.
But how many other guys do we know play that well against a pitcher or vice versa? We know this because of the rivalry. Mm-hmm. We've been leading up to this. Everybody knows, and it's not just the main players. Like you look at the Padres with Profar. Everybody just took up to the next level. Everyone's just stepping up, and I think it was I think games are made up by both teams doing what they have to do. I also think that it helped out that both teams came in super hot. The Dodgers probably the best team in Major League Baseball, but the Padres, even with Tatis going down, they didn't miss a step. They played like they would have had if they would have had him. So I think that the excitement of baseball in general is the resemblance. This is going to be the series that might define this year, and it's going to go all the way to the playoffs. This, this could be possibly even a better series than the World Series. Like if somehow these two teams have to face each other in a National League Championship Series because of the way that the matchups end up, that could be a possibility. So they play 25 times at one point. It's going to be exciting, especially for the West Coast.
Oh, big time. I mean, I was already tweeting by the 5th inning of the first game. I said, this is playoff energy in early April. And then I saw it popping up and more people started to tweet the same thing. Not that I was the first, but a lot of people shared the same sentiment. And then, of course, came the haters who were like, all right, settle down. And a lot of it was the Dodgers fans who just couldn't give the Padres just a little bit of cake. They've been hungry for a long time. They deserve to eat. Just let them eat. Let them eat. Yeah. They are hungry. Those Padres fans are hungry. And let me tell you, as somebody who has worked at Petco Park, I have never, ever heard audibly on a broadcast beat LA. Ever. Because normally when the Dodgers come to town, there are more, the Dodger fans contingent outweigh that of the home Padre fans. But now with limited ticket attendance, there's only 33% capacity at Petco Park. We're seeing a lot more locals coming to the games. And of course, locals get priority when it comes to the tickets. So we're seeing a lot more San Diego locals, and they let themselves be heard, which was a wonderful moment. But I am very much looking forward to Thursday. Padres arrive in LA on Thursday, 4-game set. Cannot wait. And I do hope that it gets some national attention because it's a good one. All right, let's move on to some other news. 7-inning no-nos are apparently a no, according to MLB. But in a 60-game season, the World Series, it does count. So at this point, how many of the holdovers from that abbreviated season are we still honoring moving into this season? And is it fair to say that a 7-inning no-no just doesn't count, Ozzy, in your opinion?
You know what? I think that anything that happened as a season World Series, that was the only reason that happened is because of the situation that the country was going through. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not even a fan of the doubleheader, 7-inning doubleheader. But again, should it be a no-hitter? Absolutely not, because it's 9 innings. Okay. I always argue this: should a player get a no-hitter if he goes through 9 innings without giving up a hit? Because if it's 0-0 and he still has to pitch, it's technically not a no-hitter still. So no, I don't consider a 7-inning a no-hitter. But I will say this though. The way that pitching is so weak now, okay, with guys being able to go deep into games and complete games being absolutely, basically non-existent in Major League Baseball. If you go 7 innings without allowing a hit, and you went, that's an amazing quality start. You should get a pat on the back and you should get highlights, because now that's an amazing feat that it's only done by the big boys. Now a lot of guys don't go 7, and if you allow 1 hit, you're huge. If you allow less than 5 hits, you're considered elite. So I think if you go 7 innings, no runs, no hits, I think that, your team should at least feel like you got a no-hitter. But from an award part, sorry, you got to throw 9. Hopefully your team scores a run for you to be on the history books.
Jen, is 7 enough or 9 or nothing?
No, and I agree with Ozzy as far as the way that we see pitchers pitch this day and age. They don't go 7 innings. And when you do see that, I mean, it is a big deal. So if you do see pretty much a no-hitter up until 7 innings, celebrate it amongst yourselves. It's a good thing. It's good for your value, right? It increases the pitcher's value for sure. But is it a no-no? I don't think so. As far as rules from last season, I think the only rule we all wanted to see was the universal DH, and MLB failed us completely on that one. I mean, the one thing, nobody wants to see the rubber on the pitcher's mound move back. Nobody wants that. Nobody cares about that. All we want is universal DH. Please listen to us. That's it. That's all we want.
and add to that, Jen, in my opinion, we also do not need an inherited runner on second base to start extras. We really don't. We saw that made 0 difference in the Dodgers-Padres series this weekend.
So have you guys seen the stat though on that? Now we have now issues that doesn't seem to be that fair. Visiting teams are 17 and 6 I think it was the last thing that they're looking at. So the visiting team, if you're making a sports wagering, it's double the chance that you're playing as a visitor, that if once you score the run, the momentum goes to the other team. So it's not really fair because they're not both in the playing field. They took away the emotional part of it. And we had a deep discussion about this, that emotionally, if you go 0-0 and you're going up to hit, your body demeanor is a lot different than I got to chase a run. So the advantage seems to go to the visiting team. And now it's a statistical fact that we have seen more teams win as a visitor than we have as a home team. So I don't know if they're going to look a little bit more into that, because obviously if that's the case, you know, how do you deal with it? But again, I don't like the ninth inning either. If you say we don't want to have 16 inning extra inning games, I get that. Give it to me like in the 13th, 14th inning. You know, like when it starts getting boring, you know, there's a point in the extra innings that you're like, okay, somebody just end this.
Right.
That, you know, and it's usually not the 9th or the 10th inning. It's usually like past like 11th or 12th. Make the rule a little bit more extended. Because again, like I'll be honest with you, like the Dodgers series, I think that we all really wanted to be extended. I was like, the runner on second for this game.
For the first game, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel
the second game, though.
No,
I'm like, thank God Mookie Betts made that amazing catch, an amazing play.
It doesn't seem appropriate. If like it was an Orioles Seattle Mariners game, I'm like, okay, I get it. But when the game is going great, you know, again, it's rules that they're experimenting. But again, I think that a no-hitter is a no-hitter. I was trying to find out before the show how many games Pedro Martinez took to 7 with no hits allowed. I think a lot of guys would have a lot more no-hitters if we started calling those no-hitters. But I think that's going to be something that they might have to start tracking it, because I really think that going a complete game now is something that we're going to see less and less.
All right. Well, moving on. They were the preseason media darlings, and now they sit in the basement of the AL East. What is going on with the Yankees? Struggling starting pitching, untimely hits, and just a sense of low morale and an absence of confidence. What is their major malfunction, in your opinion, Ozzy?
Who's their leader? Who's the guy in the clubhouse that they can turn to and say, this is the New York Yankees? CeCe's gone. Okay, is it still Brett Gardner? When I look at the team, I see a lot of talent, but I don't see a guy that can say, okay, guys, get behind me. I also think, and I'm going to critique this, and I know Yankee fans will agree, they're not playing Yankees baseball. Okay, and that means we're going to win the Yankee way. They've always had their own style. You see this team now that is trying to be extremely analytical. Okay, they want to, you know, play like they are the Rays, and that's not a good fit. Also, the injuries, you can talk about it, but I think that it's a combination. Again, when you talk about the media overhyped them, again, the media has been extremely hard on them in New York. You know, we saw the Gary situation. It's a combination. Again, it's 162 games. This is still a great team, but for some reason, they're playing really uptight. We saw, Aaron kind of lose it. It's not meshing well with the players. They really need to sit back and say, okay, we need to take it one game at a time and kind of refocus on fundamentals and not think we're going to come here and just beat up on everyone, because it's not working.
Is this a chemistry problem, Jen, a health problem, or a media problem?
I think it's a chemistry problem. I don't think it's so much of a media problem. I do think, obviously, because the Yankees are the Yankees and they look good on paper, everyone always assumes that they're going to be the team to beat. I do think it's still early. I think it's only April, right? And some teams, sometimes they just go through big slumps in the beginning. That being said, though, they are not playing a defense and offense is really bad. I mean, it's ugly even to look at. And when you see a lot of the reactions from the fans, it's interesting, Ozzy, to your point, as far as not playing Yankees baseball, you would think that fans would be calling for Aaron Boone's head, and they're not. A lot of people are actually calling out Cashman. And is it coming from the top and the way that this team has been managed? And I think that is an interesting point. And I do think that there's something off with the chemistry, because I think baseball is way more of a mental game than it is a physical. So if they already know that they are not playing well, They're going into the ballpark with that really bad energy from the fans. Fans are going in saying, oh, we're going to lose. And they're just going to be mad, right? And now they're even like more pissed off because I think it's like, we waited so long to be able to come to the ballpark and this is what you're going to give us. So everybody's pressing. And I think that they need to take a break like they do in spring training, go on a team field trip and enjoy themselves. I don't care what it is that they need to do. Rent out a bowling alley, rent out Top Golf. I don't know, rent out a strip club if that's what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is that's gonna allow them to release some stress and just have fun. That's what they need to do right now and forget about baseball for a day.
Are you suggesting that they go to a strip club? Bust the
slump. By the way, whatever.
Jen rent it out, right? Like once everybody's already vaccinated.
Just have Yankees night at Yankees like Pacers or something.
Yeah, you know what though? It's how they're losing. New York. It's how they're losing.
Anything that will relieve stress.
It's how they're losing. It's not that they're losing. Ninth inning, they get walked off, and they've been playing really good baseball. It was a very close game, and somebody couldn't get the hit. It's like they're getting rolled. They're getting out there, and they're getting embarrassed by teams with a lot less talent. Okay, and they're like committing a lot of errors. So it's literally like it seems like a lack of focus, or of like let's play really good baseball. They're not losing in the ninth inning, and somebody got walked off, and then you might need a new closer or a starting pitching. Didn't play well that day. It's literally they make multiple errors a game. Okay, they're not hitting. It doesn't seem to mesh. They're not meshing well, which again, analytics doesn't look at that. But when I look at that, it's a chemistry thing. Like, are they pressing too much? Are they looking to, I always said this. I said, are they too healthy? Okay, because before they were unhealthy, they were kind of just grinding it out. Now they seem to have everybody in their lineup, and they might be looking and saying, okay, Giancarlo, what are you going to do? And the guys that are younger are looking for the big boys to kind of, do the job, and the big boys are not producing. So they need to like look into and see, what can we do to go back to like fundamentals, because the talent's there. You look at the roster, like, come on, like the roster is ridiculous. You got the Grum going every 5 days. Sorry, not the Grum, Cole every 5 days. You literally know that you have a good team. So I think that, again, reset in any shape or form you want and try to get one win and start building on that.
And it was funny that somebody said that the team was so bad that they forced Jay Bruce into retirement. He wasn't going to get on that sinking ship. But another point to bring up is Gleyber. They moved him, right? They moved his position after he was really successful at second base. That was another point that I've seen a conversation around, is he was really successful at second base, and then they moved him in order to put LeMahieu in that position. He is not a shortstop. Right. And so instead of having brought back Didi Gregorius or Lindor or like just different people who could have been at that spot, at that position, it also goes into question of the way that Gleyber is playing. Like, that's not his position. So he is going to commit some errors because it wasn't his original position. And I think that that's a lot of what also goes to the top, right? The way that this team is being handled from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, never underestimate the delicate balance. All right, well, imparting some gold coins as far as some hitting advice, Alex Verdugo talks to a fan, and it is caught on camera and posted to social. Let's go to our social media, This Week in Baseball social media. First of all, the Spanglish.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here for
it. You know what I loved about this, though? Everyone tries to overcomplicate hitting, okay? And I sit online and I hear these guys that, they have PhDs in body movement and they make hitting so hard. And here you see, Mr. Verdugo, who I love his style. He's being himself, explaining hitting, literally breaking it down, which is probably a kid in kid terms, okay? And this is what's fun. This kid's going to go out there and imitate him, but his hitting mechanics and what he's explaining to the kid, it was amazing for him to like listen to him talk about hitting. And again, it shows, I think he's, in my opinion, now hearing him talk about hitting, I could put him now on the more mature side of hitting, because I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. He's just not up there just hacking. I really love that. And for this fan, this is gold. The fact that we got to listen to this and have it on social media, got a big league guy explaining to you about hitting and making it this simple for all the guys out there that are trying to complicate hitting. This is what it's all about. Just brought it right there. Few words.
Yep. Forget about the launch angle. Just hit.
No, because launch angle's always been there. A-Rod said it. Launch angle's always been in baseball. And if you start talking the conversation with launch angle, you're going to lose these kids. And now you're making them get more outs. You're overcomplicating them. And again, like launch angles, the bigger you get, the more launch angle you're going to have. Explain something to a kid. Again, you got to explain to them to hit the ball, put the contact in. And then obviously as you get older, you're going to bring that real power. But again, I love the fact that when you're talking about generational gaps, when you listen to Verdugo talk about hitting, that's going to be more helpful for a kid to like learn and gravitate to that than somebody that might explain it the exact same way using different words, but they don't connect because the language that they're using, the way that they're explaining it, the laid back, the swag, the connection, it's just, I think that's a kid would connect a lot more to Verdugo's style now than they would to somebody 30 years ago.
Yeah, I love that he was so willing to impart all of that knowledge while the kid was filming. All right, and continuing our social media spotlight of players, let's talk about Marcus Strowman and his swag. First of all, he owned Coors Field over the weekend after his last start was scratched due to bad weather in the Miami Marlins series. And the Mets have just had a really tough run when it comes to their games being canceled. But now here we are on Monday, April 19th, and they sit atop the NL East. So congratulations to the Mets, Marcus Strowman. And by the way, who had some really great plays, a little behind the back action, just some sparkling stuff. Had a great start for the Mets over the weekend.
The Stro show, I think if you like the show that he puts on the field, you're going to like the show that he gives you also on social media. This guy, he loves the show, but he also loves fashion. And he is a big part, I think, of the fashion scene when it comes to baseball. He's got swag. He loves to take his GQ pics, as I like to call them. But he's got his own shoe line as well as his cleats, which I think are really, really nice. I think like the color scheme that he's chosen is super on trend right now. And Julie, I'm sure that you can agree, like as far as like the rose gold and like
my gosh. I mean, that's like after dinner mint.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's very in right now. And so he's very on point with his sense of style. But then also Strowman gives back. And through his HDMH Foundation, does a lot to give back here. They donated 300,000 meals during COVID relief, during COVID last year. And I think it's a big deal. And he knows that, and he supports Little League teams. So shout out to Strowman for not only putting on a great show on the field, but as well off the field.
The balance. This is what he needs to keep showing people. He doesn't need to talk a lot about nonsense because he's naturally got swag. The way that he carries himself on the field, he's a fun guy to watch. And then his ability, he is a gold glove, and his ability to pitch well, okay, when he focuses on pitching, will get him that platform where he'll be able to do a lot more things. So I think that he's sometimes misunderstood because he hasn't found that balance of talking and delivering. But when you look at him as a person, he has all the tools to be extremely successful because he does give back naturally. He does have that natural swag and ability of art and that he's creating really cool things. I think that when some players wish they had that, they just can't have it. They don't have the style. I think that Stro has that, and his ability to be on the field. If he focuses on I'm going to be on the field, not overdo it, I think that he could be that guy that's like a top, like a Lindor. I look at him and I see Francisco Lindor. He's just a natural swag guy, a natural commercial guy, but he racks it up with his field. And I think this season, from what I've seen on the field with the Mets so far, and I don't know if it's the new atmosphere that's changing him up, Strowman looks really good on the mound. Okay. He might be worth the $18 million that he's paying him this year. Because if he keeps pitching that way, he will be in the conversations for that Cy Young because he's looking very, very good.
Oh, he looks good, and I agree, Ozzy. I yesterday the way that Lindor ended the game on that play, and then the way that Strowman pitched, I agree. I was like, these two are gonna bring so much just swag and appeal to this team that I haven't seen since Jose Reyes back in the day, type of deal, type of atmosphere with this team. And everybody loved it. And right, Julie? I mean, that type of energy, I see these two guys bringing it back to Queens.
And listen, if there's a team that needs it, if you've been reading the papers,
oh yeah,
it's them in Queens. And speaking of Gold Glove, let's talk about Mookie Betts really fast, ending game 2 of that Dodgers Padres series. Talk about a play. Mookie Betts just getting it done in the outfield.
No, that
thank you from delivering us from extras.
harder than people think. Most center fielders probably wouldn't have not made that play. Got a good jump, extended himself. The way the ball was hit was not very hard. It's a dying ball. Very, very good play. Completely underrated catch because obviously it's Mookie. Yep. But that ball bounces maybe inside the park home run. But it was a great play.
Yeah, there was a little bit of unsureness as far as did it hit the ground or not. But the inside of his glove, if you look closely, he got it, but it's also there's white. So there's a white stripe on the outside. There's a white part on the inside. And people got a little confused because they thought, is that the ball or is that up? There you go. You see the little flash. Or is that the glove? And of course he got it. And there's no mistaking with that reaction. That was an inherent response. He knew he had it. The chest pump and everything. And let's talk about their pitcher, Trevor Bauer, pitching game 3 of the series, who in a moment when Justin Turner almost tripped over the bag, he was so present, he was able to have a little fun with it and play ump.
I thought this was great. I mean, they weren't even winning the game, but having fun in the middle of a game like that, it was hilarious. Shout out to Bauer. I mean, you may hate him, but this right here,
he's chill.
He's fun.
Chill. I like that he made it. I like that he did it when he wasn't throwing his best game, because I've always said this. One of my favorite shows on earth, he's no longer with us, was Jose Lima. Okay, Lima time. And the reason that I loved Jose Lima is because Jose Lima could be up 15 runs or he could be down 15 runs and he still had fun. And I want Trevor, if he's going to do all his antics and all his stuff that he likes to do, and the walk and the safe and having fun, do it not only when you're winning and pitching well, just make it part of your character. Because I think that's when people start getting rubbed the wrong way, or you're only doing it because you're pitching well, or you're only doing it because you're winning. Him doing things like this, like, he wasn't even in the, at that point, he was just pitching to eat innings and save the bullpen. But he was having fun. Again, high intensity game, probably your number one rival, and you're able to have fun like that. That shows you that the team is laid back. They know they're not going to win every game. That's good chemistry right there. That's
a great point. And that's something that I'm going to be looking for in the next series that they play, because there were moments, especially in the first and second game, when benches cleared. Tensions were running high. The other thing that people need to remember with this whole series is that Dave Roberts has his own beef with the Padres organization. So this stuff runs deep, and it runs for many years, because Dave Roberts was looked over for the managerial job when it went to Andy Green, who had 0 major league experience, and they went with him as the manager. Dave Roberts wanted to come back to San Diego. He's a San Diego resident. He wanted that job. They looked over him. The Dodgers gave him the job, and there's always been that chip on his shoulder. So the fact that that happened, and they had gone head to head years prior. So the fact that Bauer can keep it loose and can have those fun moments, to me, says that his mind is present in the game and he's not taking it too seriously. He's not taking himself too seriously, and he is still enjoying the game, which at the end of the day, that's what we like to watch as fans, is the players having fun. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of La Vida Baseball Live. Thank you so much for watching. Ozzy, Jen, always a pleasure, and we will see you next week.